WADR. West Africa Democracy Radio.
WADR. Promoting dialogue.
It's midday in Dakar and Monrovia, 1 p.m. in Abuja. Many thanks for staying tuned to West Africa Democracy Radio, broadcasting on 94.9 FM and around the world on WADR.org. Welcome to NewsLink. Let's begin with our top stories. Liberia's Vice President Howard Taylor calls for women's support as the country readies for the presidential runoff on November 14.
We may be looking at many things. I believe the messages coming from NEMA have been clear. Those who are running, the message to the people is what? Vote for your own. And I hope Bon County will do the same, that the vice presidency will remain here so that many more opportunities will become available.
Mauritania's state prosecutor recommends a 20-year jail term for former President Mohamed Ould Abdelaziz over alleged embezzlement of $62 million. Ghana High Commission's UK property faces impending sale to settle $140 million debt to Trafigura.
They attached property belonging to the Republic in the UK. Then they sought to serve us with that process. Our Chancellor then filed a motion trying to set aside the process through which we were served with that process. Then the High Court in England said no.
And Nigeria's newly appointed central bank governor Cardoso to appear before lawmakers over foreign exchange policy amendments. Stay tuned for details of these stories and more.
Here is Abdullahi Hassan with NewsLink.
Many thanks for joining us and a warm welcome to our listeners in Gambia, Ghana, and Liberia. This edition of NewsLink takes off with Liberia, where a brief campaign season has commenced ahead of the November 14 second round of presidential elections. Vice President Jewel Howard Taylor set the ball rolling on Tuesday after calling on women in central Bon County to increase the vote margin during the runoff election. Taylor's call was prompted by the Electoral Commission's announcement of a runoff between incumbent George Weah and main opposition candidate Joseph Boakai. At the declaration of the final result on Tuesday, the electoral umpire confirmed that none of the 20 presidential candidates was able to obtain the constitutional mandate of 50% plus one vote to win on the first ballot. WADR's Darlington Popper in Monrovia completes the story.
During a discussion with local journalists in the central region, Vice President Jewel Howard Taylor urged voters to maintain the vice presidency slot within the government. She highlighted the implementation of various programs by the current regime, emphasizing their impact on the lives of ordinary Liberians in that region.
We may be looking at many things. I believe the messages coming from NEMA have been clear. Those who are running, the message to the people is what? Vote for your own. And I hope Bon County will do the same, that the vice presidency will remain here so that many more opportunities will become available. I will be going throughout the different districts to make an appeal that we should look at the benefits that come to Bon County by hosting the office of the vice presidency. We should not throw that away and send it to another country. The thing is, because I'm vice president here, everything that has been done at the national level, some of it has come to Bon County.
On the other hand, opposition figure Mohammed Ali reaffirmed their full readiness for the runoff, emphasizing ongoing negotiation to secure the support of the other 18 candidates who performed poorly in the October 10 polls.
We understand that in Liberia, with the proliferation of political parties, it is extremely difficult for one party to clinch a victory on the first ballot. And so we had everything in place and anticipated a runoff. So yes, we are absolutely prepared. We are on the wheels and moving throughout the length and breadth of Liberia. If you didn't win it in the first round, it means that you have to collaborate with other political parties in order to get it in the runoff. We are now reaching out to presidential candidates, to legislative candidates, to other political parties, in order to get their support.
International partners are currently urging Liberians to conduct their campaigns in a civil manner and avoid actions that could potentially undermine the country's RNPs. For the NEWSLINK on West Africa Democracy Radio, I'm Darlington Pogba in Monrovia.
Meanwhile, regional political analysts, observers, and governance experts commend Liberia, its people, and the National Elections Commission (NEC) for the peaceful conduct of the October 10 general elections. According to their assessment, the outcome is not only laudable but truly represent the will of the electorate. Ibrahim Khan, an AU governance expert, is one such observer. He, however, suggests a slim chance of victory for the country's incumbent, George Weah, who is seeking a second term in office.
I think this election show first how the society is divided about who should run the country. But at the same time, in my view, it's really a defeat for the incumbent. You know, George Weah came to power with the claim that he will completely transform the country, he will create a new job, he will do many things. But at the end of the day, after 5 years, nothing really happened, and the population, by going to the poll, express dissatisfaction on the way things are going in their country.
Right. So talk about the runoff election being like a referendum. Looking at how the opposition, Joseph Boakai, given the incumbent government close marking, what do you think the chances of George Weah will be in the runoff?
His chances are slim, huh? Very slim, because I don't see how through this process, with the problem that the country is facing, those who were hesitating, because when an election looks like a referendum, many people will come and vote. And that when the people come and vote, they will not vote for the incumbent. That's what the experience has shown. And two here, the fact that George Weah, his results are very close with the result of the opposition leader, tells you about the lack of satisfaction of the population. And when the population is not satisfied, they will use their vote to express their view. And this one, I think, will help them to really mobilize against the incumbent and to try to make sure that he's not elected. And I think I personally worry for George Weah and his team.
Ibrahim Khan is an AU governance expert. Now, in Guinea, the committee monitoring the conclusions of the Inter-Guinean political dialogue met yesterday, Tuesday. At the end of the 7th meeting, some members felt that there was no delay in the implementation of the timetable and that elections will be held after 24 months of transition as agreed with the regional bloc ECOWAS. The meeting on Tuesday, which was the 7th by the committee monitoring the conclusions, had members assess the conduct of the transition. The meeting was chaired by the head of government, Bernard Gomo, in the presence of 3 facilitators. The 10 points set out in the timetable were fully reviewed, and the agenda the committee described as seeing a considerable progress. The process of mobilizing the $600 million to finance the electoral process was analyzed, and a consensus was reached.
More stories coming up on West Africa Democracy Radio. NEWSLINK continues.
Mauritania's state prosecutor has recommended a 20-year jail term in the trial of former President Mohamed Ould Abdelaziz that opened on Tuesday. Accompanied by 10 other accused individuals, Aziz faces charges of suspected illicit enrichment. The court alleges that he has amassed assets and wealth valued at over 43 billion CFA francs or $62 million. In a bid to sway the trial's trajectory, his legal team has been granted permission to present new witnesses, fostering hope for a positive influence on the case's outcome. One of his attorneys, Taleb Khair, has expressed his lack of surprise at the prosecution's indictment.
Le témoignage, vous savez, c'est un moyen de preuve. On ne peut pas empêcher une partie en procès de présenter un élément de preuve.
Testimony is evidence. You can't prevent a party to a trial from presenting a piece of evidence that he has and that he considers decisive for the proceedings. That's why we asked for the defense witnesses. to be heard. The court did not follow us directly, but we did present a number of witnesses yesterday, Tuesday. We were expecting a requisition of this nature, but obviously we feel that this requisition is unfounded because most of what the public prosecutor raised was based on the minutes of the preliminary investigations.
Elsewhere, the Ghana High Commission's facility in the United Kingdom responsible for providing visa and various services alongside the Commissioner's residence, the Ghana International Bank building and other properties face the imminent risk of being sold to offset a $140 million judgment debt owed to Trafigura, a Singaporean multinational commodities trading company. Expressing his dismay, Ghana's High Commissioner to the United Kingdom, Papa Owusu Ankoma, conveyed his embarrassment over the unfolding situation, wherein the debt payment to Trafigura has escalated to the point of potential seizure and auctioning of Ghana's assets in the country. James Japan has more.
The majority owner of the GPGC, a power company Trafigura, was awarded compensation in January 2021 by an arbitral tribunal after it determined that Ghana had unlawfully terminated a contract for the establishment and operation of 2 power plants. This situation has put Ghana in the precarious position of potentially losing its UK property to the company. In response to this development, Deputy Attorney General Alfred Chia Yeboah disclosed that the government has instructed the Finance Ministry to take necessary measures to settle the debts.
It is the finance ministry that entered into an agreement, because normally Ghana is the finance ministry that pays all these debts. Then, having failed to do so, then the judgment creditor decided to execute the judgment. They attached property belonging to the Republic in the UK. Then they sought to serve us with that process. Our external solicitor then filed a motion trying to set aside the process through which we were served with that process. Then the High Court in England said no, the service on us was properly made. So now, the Ministry of Finance has been advised to once again approach the judgment creditors and make every effort to pay that money.
In light of the concerning situation, the former Minister of State emphasized that Ghana is not simply at risk of losing its assets due to the court order. Ghana has been contending with economic challenges, prompting the country to seek $3 billion in financial support from the International Monetary Fund (IMF) to stabilize its activities. Upon approval and completion of the review by the IMF Executive Board, Ghana is expected to access approximately $600 million in financing.
James Japan with that report. Let's head to the Gambia, where the High Court has dismissed the state's request for an extension to submit their defense in the case brought by the families of the victims of acute kidney injuries, or AKI. This decision follows expiration of the state's 90-day grace period for an extension. The court has also imposed a fine of $10,000 a year on the state for its perceived lack of initiative in advancing the case and for its failure to attend the pre-trial hearing. From Banjul, Sankle Janko joins us with more.
I am standing at the premises of the High Court of the Gambia here in Banjul, where members of the victims of the acute kidney injury KAI filed a lawsuit against the Gambia government. Also, the accused includes Atlantic and Maiden Pharmaceuticals. The pre-trial, which was presided by Justice Ibrahim Ajaite, resumed on Tuesday after it was first filed. During the proceedings, the state and all the defendants failed to appear in court for the pre-trial procedures, despite having filed a motion on notice requesting an extension of time to file a defense. Lubna Faraj, the lawyer representing the victims' families, expressed disappointment at the state's absence, urging the court to dismiss the state's motion for an extension on the grounds that the 90-day grace period for the extension had lapsed. In response, Justice Jaide struck out the state's motion for extension, imposing a fine of $10,000. The High Court judge emphasized the defendants' failure to progress the case over the course of 3 months and their failure to appear in court, citing these are reasons to strike the motion in the interest of justice. Families of AKI victims filed the lawsuit seeking compensation from the government, prevention of similar incidents in the future, and acknowledgement of their mistake leading to the deaths of their loved ones, among other demands. The case has been adjourned to November 7, 2023 at 2:30 p.m. for further mention. For NEWSLINK and West African Democracy Radio, I am Sankolo Janko reporting from Banjul.
Meanwhile, the Senegalese capital, Dakar, will from tomorrow, Thursday, October 26, 2023, host the first edition of the Gambia Day. The two-day event is organized by the Gambia's High Commission in Dakar and the Senegalese Agency on Investment and Major Works Promotion, APIX. The event will include an economic, trade and investment forum and an exhibition fair, while on day 2, which is Friday, a cultural gala dinner will be held with speeches by top government officials from both countries. The Gambian Vice President, Dr. Mohamed Jal, is expected to grace the event that is designed to promote people-to-people relations between Banjul and Dakar. Also expected at the conference are representatives of regional and international organizations, entrepreneurs, and members of the diplomatic community. Stay with us as the Gambian High Commissioner to Senegal, Heidrame Sidibe, joins us in the second half of the news. You are listening to NEWSLINK here on West Africa Democracy Radio, broadcasting from Dakar, Senegal on 94.9 FM and online on wadr.org. Here's a reminder of our top stories. Liberia's Vice President Howard Taylor calls for women's support as the country readies for the presidential runoff on November 14. Mauritania's state prosecutor recommends a 20-year jail term for former President Mohamed Ould Abdelaziz over alleged embezzlement of $62 million. Ghana High Commission's UK property faces impending sale to settle the $140 million debt to Trafigura. Still ahead in the news, Nigeria's newly appointed central bank governor Cardoso to appear before lawmakers over foreign exchange policy amendments. We also have the guest interview and sports news. Stay with us.
West Africa Democracy Radio. It's you speaking.
Remember, we're streaming live on wadr.org and on YouTube, WADR News. The Nigerian House of Representatives has announced its intention to summon Olayemi Cardoso, the governor of the Central Bank of Nigeria, CBN, for discussions regarding the recent policy amendment that has lifted foreign exchange restrictions on 43 specific items. Lawmakers are keen to gain a comprehensive understanding of the policy shift and its potential ramifications on the nation's economy. WAD's Abuja correspondent Usman Umar reports.
The decision to summon the Central Bank of Nigeria governor came about following a motion of urgent public importance proposed by a member of the House, Sada Soli. The motion called for further clarification on the policy and its potential impact on the economy. Soli pointed out that some of the previously restricted items have tariffs in place to safeguard local industries. Concerns have been raised that if Nigeria's markets become inundated with imported finished goods, the country may struggle to effectively compete within the African Continental Free Trade Area. To address these apprehensions, the House has resolved that its relevant committees should invite the CBN governor to provide additional information. 2 weeks ago, the CBN lifted the forex ban on 43 items and expressed its intention to intervene in the foreign exchange market as required. In 2015, the CBN had restricted these items from accessing foreign exchange through the I&E window, arguing that they could be produced within the country. The affected items include rice, cement, palm kernel, meat and processed meat products, poultry, soap, cosmetics, and more. The CBN's recent statement stressed its commitment to bolstering liquidity in the Nigerian foreign exchange market through periodic interventions aimed at maintaining price stability. As market liquidity improves, these interventions will be gradually reduced, as explained by the Apex Bank. For NEWSLINK on West Africa Democracy Radio, Usman Omar reporting from Abuja.
More on financial news. Benin and Côte d'Ivoire have been approved as new members of the European Bank for Reconstruction and Development, EBRD, following the application submissions from both countries in July and August. Their intention is to benefit from the financial and advisory services provided by the bank. The first stage of the membership process has been sanctioned by the EBRD governors. However, there are final pre-membership criteria that the two countries are required to fulfill before the process is formally completed, as stated by the bank. President Odile Renaud Basso expressed enthusiasm about the latest membership additions welcoming Benin and Côte d'Ivoire. The statement also indicates the anticipation for the countries to become full-fledged recipients of the EBRD's operational support.
This is the newspaper review. Stay on top of the news. Get the most important stories with added insight and concise review.
This is the newspaper review.
For today's press review, Sankule Janko in Banjul is taking us through national dailies for the screaming and banner headlines.
Hello there and welcome to this edition of the Press Review. Let's begin today's Press Review with the Point newspaper. And the lead story on the Point newspaper reads, State to pay $10,000 for failure to file defense in AKI case. Usman Sonko in deep coma. NEWSLINK to upgrade all electricity meters. That's another story. Alleged PIU shooter Usainu Bojang and co. plead not guilty to all counts. Barrow says government officials unwilling to work will get fired. Let's move on to the Voice newspaper. 46% of survey respondents consider cost of health services at KAC expensive. Trial begins in alleged Sukuta Jabang shooting case. No charges for NEWSLINK upgrade to prepaid meters, according to Managing Director Nani Juara. Let's move on to the Fourier newspaper. And the Fourier newspaper's lead story has to do with the demolition of structures along the roads by the Gambia Police Force. And it reads, demolition victims express frustration over delay in getting compensation. And Voice newspaper also published this story relating to NEWSLINK's cash power. And it reads, NEWSLINK to upgrade cash power meters countrywide. Soldier testifies in police shooting. Basse Area Council ex-finance director denies allegations of stealing from council. Interesting. State fails to appear in acute kidney injury case. Economic crime, corruption, forgery, and theft. Let's take the back pages of some of the newspapers. The Standard newspaper, to be specific, and the Standard's back page sports story reads, Minter's injury holds blistering start to season. Of course, Minter, by this they mean Yankuba Minter, the young Gambian Newcastle player who was sent on loan to Dutch side, Eredivisie side, Feyenoord. He was on fire for the Dutch side, but just like Standard stated, this injury has actually halted his blistering start to the season for the Eredivisie side. I'm afraid these are the major stories making headlines on Gambian dailies, and it's back to you in the studio.
WADR's Sankule Janko and Banjul, the Press Review.
Politics, analysis on major news, social matters, and all. This is A Guest.
Joining us on the guest segment is the Gambian High Commissioner to Senegal, Heidrami Sidibe. The High Commissioner tells us more about the Economic Trade and Investment Forum scheduled for Thursday, October 26 and Friday, October 27, 2023 in Dakar. According to him, the forum is a follow-up and commencement of the implementation process of several agreements reached during a recent meeting of President Adama Barrow and his Senegalese counterpart Macky Sall under the aegis of the Presidential Council. Heidrami Sidibe first describes the relationship between the two neighboring states.
The Gambia and Senegal are two in one. They are our only neighbors, and we share everything in common. You just put aside the French and English, we are good to go, because we speak the same languages. Our cultures are the same. So the relationship at the level of the administration, from the top, it has been cordial. it has even improved much closer since the advent of the current president, President Adama Barrow. His relationship with the head of state of Senegal has always been very close and fantastic. And this is where we are inspired, and we feel at our level we should make sure things happen even closer.
Especially for the grassroots.
Especially, yeah.
Several other occasions or events have taken place to celebrate the two countries. But tell us, how important is the Gambia Day in Senegal, and how will this be a game changer?
It will be a game changer because there was a presidential council, and some of these issues were raised. And so we are here to encourage them to implement those agreements that we reach at the Presidential Council. So this forum will make sure that both Gambia and Senegalese stakeholders will interact and then have a common ground, being involved in activities or businesses that will make our economies grow.
What opportunities are you looking at exploring or advancing and eventually solidifying by organizing this forum in Senegal?
We are looking at all the areas that we agreed on in terms of customs or relationship with customs, how we will even assess what has been done so far since that day to this week, and we try to improve on it. We will look at our transport services. There were proposals, and it was even said that the two ministers will meet and try to harmonize the situation, improve on it. We will look at also the domestication of travel between Senegal and Gambia, and all these issues of logistics will be looked at at a closer level. Now we are down at the people-to-people interaction. Yeah.
What's the level of preparation so far for the big event?
We are on high gear. Our vice president is also coming. That just puts us at another level, because we were thinking that we just make it a small thing at the level of our mission. But it is so inspiring that they said this is an opportunity that we can do that and that and that, especially the involvement of Apex. They've taken the junk of the forum and they are sponsoring it, and I think that is wisdom. That is what should happen between the two countries. We give and take, we share. That's what we expect.
What do you expect from some of the partners of these two countries attending the forum?
I know we invited ECOWAS, all these institutions, which I think they are represented either directly or indirectly. And the ambassadors of all these different countries are supposed to attend. So it's going to be something major. And if at all things work, the outcome should be very, very big.
Can you describe the outcome by your own assessment or your expectations?
I think the assessment is like Senegalese businesses will want to invest in the Gambia because that opportunity is there. And Gambian businesses will also want to invest here. Also, other nations, we realize that Gambia and Senegal, they are working in partnership. And if the two of us work in partnership, I think we can grab more.
Hedrami Sidibe is the Gambia's High Commissioner to Senegal. And in the world of sports, the Cameroonian goalkeeper was the hero of the Manchester United in their UEFA Champions League match on Tuesday after saving a penalty in the dying minutes to secure victory for the English side. Onana, who is having a difficult start to new life at Manchester United, turned up as the Red Devils' hero on Tuesday by saving a penalty in the additional time against Copenhagen to deny them to draw and keep Man United's 16-round chances alive. United won the game by 1-0 thanks to a Maguire goal in the 72nd minute. And with that, we've come to the end of this edition of NewsLink here on West Africa Democracy Radio, broadcasting from Dakar, Senegal, and online on wadr.org. Many thanks for listening, and big thanks to Christian Wikidi and Mustafa Sek for the technical support. Do interact with us via social media platforms, X formerly Twitter, Instagram at WADR News, on Facebook, West Africa Democracy Radio English Service. I am Abdullahi Hassan. Good afternoon.
And many thanks to you for listening to NewsLink via Hot 104.3 FM, Newmi FM 94.0, and Veritas Radio 102.9 in Banjul, the Gambia. We also appreciate our listeners in Liberia via Alternative Youth Radio 98.9 FM, Lofa County. For you listening via Radio Pad 95.1 Damango, Savannah region, and on Royals FM 104.7 Wenchi, Ghana, we say a big thank you. Remember, West Africa Democracy Radio is all about you, your views, and your opinions.
Whichever West African country